Hello, John.
Hello, Ottawa.
And today we got three water candidates in front of us. From my left,
The Three Stooges.
the three stooges, okay? On my left, we got Dunstores Water, okay? In the middle, you've got Carrick Glen, which is from Lidl. And then on my right, you have Ishka, which is also bought in Dunstores. So,
Ishka.
these waters...
Is that an Irish one, or is it Irish spring water, it says? Yeah.
These waters have basically... What we noticed in the house was that the kettle was getting clogged up. So we decided we'd try out the three different waters to see what was going on. And we used a pot, okay? So what we discovered was the one that creates the most sediment, the most cloudy, okay, and the stuff floating in the bottom of the actual pot, okay, is Ishka. So this one is most likely to have lime scale in your kettle that'll cause the lime scale, okay? Then the Carrick Glen was much less, okay? But the winner overall was Dunstores Water. Dunstores Water didn't have any sediment or any residue at all, and it won't clog up your kettle. So there you go. What do you think of that?
And it's probably better value. Because Dunn's, I buy a lot of Dunn's own label stuff, and the quality is very good, I have to say. And Super Value as well, I buy there, and their quality is good too. But so those two stores, I don't shop anywhere else, only them two, and maybe a small store as well I shop in. I was shopping what I call local stores that's owned by individuals. Mm-hmm. Now, so there you are, the Irish spring water, which sounds something that, and the word eco is on it, there's something about eco, so that's a presumed system or something, this green stuff. But it's not so green because there's some lime in it.
There is, well, I suppose there's lime in all water, but the thing about it is, okay, in spring
Too much.
water, yeah. But I don't know. I mean, we're not saying it's bad for your health, because we don't have any evidence of that. But what we can say is that it's probably likely to damage your kettle.
Aye, so that means there's lime in it, and lime is often considered good for you, but it's not so good if it's damaging your appliance like your kettle or perhaps other items. Because I have a spring. I have a spring for my water. I don't have town water. I have a spring in ordinary water, but it was lime in it, and I had to get a unit, salt unit, to sort of get rid of that. And so because kettles were not lasting very long with the lime, because there was a fair bit of lime, and lime is often considered good for you, but maybe too much of it is not good. So that's what I had to do, and so the water now I've no problem, because except your boiler, your boiler in the bathroom, that item there, that got corroded. I had to get a new one time because of the lime. Mm-hmm. And it cost a bit of money, and lucky enough the plumber did a good job. I still have that, but now I have no lime in the, and when you be flushing the toilet or washing yourself, there's no lime in the water, so it's all good. It's good for you. So,
yeah, so
go ahead.
The thing about it is, I remember my aunt had she had her own well, okay?
Yes.
And that's all she drank out of all her life. And she went for a knee operation.
Yes.
Okay? And the surgeon said to her, he said, Mary Foley, he said, I thought I wasn't going to get through the operation in time. He says, because your bones, he says, were the hardest bones I have ever come across in a human being. He says, trying to drill in to your bones was so difficult. It gave me everything I could do, okay, to actually finish the job. He says, where your bones came from, why they're like that, I've no idea. But it actually made me think, could it be the water? Maybe it was full of calcium, magnesium, in that sense.
Aye, that's right. So there mustn't have been lime in it, because if there was, that would be a different question. She'd know it with her kettles and stuff that she'd be using the water for to do things, So it must have been good water. That's why her bones were so good.
So maybe we should be looking into more of what kind of water we drink. I mean, Ishka could actually, even though it's the one with the highest sediment, okay, physically when you look at it, okay, It could actually be a very good water. We don't know.
Exactly. So they really have to be tested, but this is just your ordinary domestic sort of environment, and that's often a guide as well, because like you buy water and you think it's going to be all the same, like once it's in a bottle and you have to pay for it. It's not free out of the tap, but of course even the water out of the tap you're paying for it some other way. Then the next one was the Carrick Glen, and I just want to see where it's made. We
Just
don't.
pick it up there.
Yeah, see where it's made.
Where's it?
Glen Patrick. It's in Clonmel, Powerstown, Clonmel, Glen Patrick Spring Water. And it looks, I mean, funny enough, when you look at it, it looks as
They all look the same when you look at them.
They do, but there is a difference apparently, and when you go to use it for your own purposes.
Yeah.
So how is Glen Patrick as regards you put it into the kettle or that?
Okay, so what we done was we done this experiment with a pot. Okay? Three different pots. Okay.
Yeah.
So Ishka, okay, you end up with a white kind of rim around the top of the pot.
Yeah.
You end up with sediment, which actually it looks like salt at the bottom of the thing when you boil it. Okay. So it leaves an awful lot of sediment, whatever is in it. I don't know. Then Glen Patrick is less. Okay. Quite a lot less. Okay. And then Dunstores leaves none whatsoever. So I'm not sure. I don't know which one is best, but that's what we came across.
Yeah. Well, I suppose if you're drinking water, it's one thing, but if the water that you buy in bottles like that, and that'd be one that people might buy because it could be, it's a 2 litre size, I think, or maybe 1.5 litres. That'd be the size that a person could buy because they could carry it, whereas this is want to put it into a car or something like that. It's bigger. And matter of fact, I saw a person there in the shop there the other day. They had nearly more bottled water in their trolley than anything else. So it must be a big family that they're all drinking this water. I don't know what brand it was, but that was a good test. It just gives you an idea of what's suitable from the point of view of the pots that you did it and what you found. So these are the sort of experiments that I suppose a person can do because they don't want anything corroded and that. And so
Ishka would be the worst for your kettle because it's the one that was clogging up our kettle.
Yeah, which is a pity because it looks as clear as
it's lovely taste of it.
So this is something that you sort of say, well, I can't be putting it into the kettle then. And because like you don't use the tap water for your water in your kettle, you don't. No, because it's often so fluoride and all the rest of it. It's so much
chlorine and fluoride, the whole
lot. So that people are not too keen on that. That's why with the bottled water. The first one that started in this country was the Ballygowan, yeah. And I remember him being on the Late Show, and Gay Byrne was years back was wondering would it be anybody buy it.
I know.
And we're doing it down in Nash's in Newcastle, in County Limerick. Nash's were wholesalers, and I knew them.
Yeah. I remember having a conversation with a guy who was telling me that water was going to. This was 1987, okay?
Yeah.
And I was working in a restaurant, and Ballygowan, okay. This guy poured a little bottle of small glass bottle at the end of the night of Ballygowan, and he says to me, water is the new sugar. And I said, really, why do you say that? He says, I'm telling you. He says, people in another 10 years, 20 years, they won't be drinking Coca-Cola. They'll be drinking water. Okay? And I said, there's no way. He says, I said to him at the time, I was only a teenager. Yeah. I said, if I had a choice of spending £1, it was pounds at the time, on a bottle of Ballygowan or £1 on a bottle of Coke, I'm going to buy the Coke.
Young people might do that too.
But he said, no, that's going to change. And by God, he was right.
He was pretty well right because it's all water.
It's all
and
water.
You see young people now with with water on buses and
Yeah.
everywhere, walking in the
Incredible.
street.
Yeah, it's great.
They have water.
They have water. Everybody's drinking water these days.
And so Coke mightn't be as popular as it was because it was a brand leader. It was everywhere, and 7-Up as well. 7-Up was maybe not as much. It was Coke. It certainly was very, very popular. I don't know whether it's as popular now as it was because there's so much brands of water. But Ballygowan was the first. But I suppose now all these other ones have kind of taken over, and Ballygowan is slipping down the scale a bit.
It is, but see, the problem with Ballygowan was it was always regarded as a very expensive water. It's for the high-end market.
Well, I suppose that then they have sales then at that end.
They have, absolutely.
And they're able to get their price. And because if you're going to go for volume, you're at the economic one, and you want plenty of volume if you're going to be working on a small margin. An own label would be, cheaper than anything like that's done store. So that's would be good value compared to the brand leader like Ballygowan. But then people that want to that are not short of the shillings might go for it because they consider it the number one.
Yeah.
Ballygowan. And right enough, I remember the fella that started, I can't think of his name, I can visualise it, but he was ahead of his time. I don't know if he was Irish or what, I think he was, but I know it was Nash's in Newcastle West that was doing it. They were wholesalers in the beer trade. Mm-hmm. So they were ahead of their time, so they were far seen, and there's some companies like that that are family businesses and they're far seen. So Irish people are great at being able to develop things, and this is why we find it extraordinary that certain companies are not actually owned by Ireland. And we think we spoke about car parks. Did we speak about car parks at any video so far?
We are doing one in the future.
Yeah, well, anyways, we talk about that, but there's a lot of items that one wouldn't think that would be owned by Irish people, and one of them was Eircom, which is a semi-state body and owned. It was broken up when the telephone, the Post and Telegraphs, when they put it a semi-state Eircom, and then it was sold off. But it was like everything else, there's been several owners, and now it's a French crowd that own it, and the service is not so good. My cousin gives them about 140 euros a bloody month for all sorts of things that they have, and his children with their phones and all the rest of it. And they had to wait nearly around the Christmas. The children used the internet, and he had to buy something so as one of his son could use the internet, and his daughter, because they weren't getting any visit from Eircom for a couple of weeks. And so he had to do that so as they could use their study what they do. And one of them is doing a PhD, which will be this year, probably May or June. So he should be called Doctor. And when I big him, say, "Oh, Doctor," well, he wouldn't be helping you medically wise, but he'll have this PhD. And his daughter is doing a master's, and it's the same thing on the internet. So it's so important for these people, and to have this amount of money that is paying and had to wait this length. And the individual who came did damn odd. It was all right for a couple of days, went again, but eventually one Sunday there, just lately, I don't know what it was, last Sunday, not just last Sunday week, a lad come from that crowd, AIR, I think they call themselves, the EIR. Strange name for a company to be calling themselves, the like of that. And he was a foreign chap, like he wasn't Irish. But he came and he got up a pole, and he said like that the system there that was going in was rotten. He put in a fresh one. And then he checked something they had on the wall, which they didn't really notice outside, and he put he said it might be all right, but he put a new one in, and the thing was perfect, and it's going to be perfect, but he said he couldn't understand why the others didn't do that.
Okay.
But they didn't, and two other fellas come and did damn all either.
Okay. So there we go. Anyway, that was the great water
Yeah.
experiment, and
Aye, well, there you are. So, yeah, exactly.
thank you very much,
Thank you
John.
very much, Alan.
All right.